Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
Right now at 8 o'clock, a shooting in Durham. This morning, we learned a man was killed. The scene where investigators worked for 9 hours.
And it's a nice start out here this morning, but I'm tracking our next weather maker. I'll show you when we'll likely see some storms developing.
And still no Pope this morning. The Sistine Chapel chimney shows black smoke. What you need to know about the next round of votes happening later this morning. We saw that black smoke about 5:50 a.m. our time, so we'll have to wait and see whether we see black smoke or white smoke coming up at 11:30. Thanks for joining us here on Fox 50 at 8 o'clock. I'm Michelle McConaughey. Starting off beautiful, you see behind me in Cary, beautiful blue skies, a little bit of sunshine there. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner out on the WRAL weather patio. It's a good golf morning.
It is. It feels great out here right now. We're not likely to see any showers or thunderstorms until much later today. Could be an isolated shower during the evening commute, but I mean, really isolated. Most folks won't see it. So we're talking about after dinner time. We're talking about, 8, 9, 10 o'clock before we start to see storms. We do have a level 1 risk. That means 1 or 2 of those storms could produce some wind damage. There's that 20% chance late afternoon up until around 8 or 9. And then that chance really starts to go up as we'll see that warm front helping to produce more storms. This is a live look at downtown Raleigh. Off in the distance is the Capitol building as we look down Fayetteville Street. Nice mix of sun and clouds, 65 degrees with a comfortable dew point of 58. Temperatures at lunchtime, upper 70s, and we'll be in the low 80s for highs this afternoon. We will have rain and storms overnight tonight and into a very impactful part of the day tomorrow. I'll show you the timeline coming up.
Happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. Yeah, we have a number of incidents dotting a live traffic map this morning, but none really affecting your commute. A couple I want to bring your attention to, particularly this one on Lewisburg Road. This is in the eastbound lane, but what we're really seeing is the westbound lanes coming into the Capitol City and the slowdowns, and that's probably a mix of traffic lights and the congestion that we usually see this time of the morning. So, give yourself some extra time if you're about to head out. We do have reports of Raleigh police working a crash on Lake Boone Trail at Blue Ridge. Not seeing any delays in that area, but just watch for some police activity. As I mentioned, those congestion building on some of our major routes. This is I-40 and Lake Wheeler Road on the southern loop of the Beltline. As far as the northern loop of the Beltline, similarly, we're seeing the same conditions as well. Those are the westbound lanes of the northern loop of the Beltline moving slow and steady this morning. In terms of other major routes coming into the capital city, here's what we're looking at this morning. You're coming in from Wake Forest, you're looking at an 8-minute delay. You're getting ready to head into the car. Tune us in on the radio, 101.5 HD3.
All right, thank you, Ken. Breaking this morning, a man was killed in a shooting. It happened on South Benjamin Street in Durham. WRAL's Eric Miller is there. Eric spoke to a neighbor who saw the police response. What's going on right now, Eric? What do we know?
Michelle, that neighbor not only saw the police response, he was one of the first people here on this scene. He says he knew the victim and actually found that man's body right here in this driveway behind a pair of homes on Satter Road. You take a look at some of the video from this scene, you get a sense just how large the police response was here. Officers out here for more than 9 hours trying to figure out what exactly happened. Police got the call right around 9:30 last night. A neighbor tells us he heard about 5 gunshots before finding his neighbor out here on the ground. Durham police haven't said what exactly led up to this shooting or said if they have any suspects or anybody in custody at this point. We're also still working to learn anything more about the circumstances, as well as waiting for the victim's name to be publicly released. In Durham, Eric Miller, WRAL News.
This morning, the chimney smoke was black at the Sistine Chapel, and that means no pope was decided on in the voting session for the next pope. 2 rounds of voting were held this morning, and now 2 more rounds of voting will be held for the afternoon session. That gets started around 11:30 a.m. our time.
And Jeff, I'm in the WRAL Live Center. This is the largest and most geographical diverse set of cardinals ever put in place before, and many of them put in place by Pope Francis before he passed. And this is a picture from yesterday inside the Sistine Chapel there as the cardinals are electing the next pope. More than 4 out of 5 of these cardinals who are selecting the next pontiff owe their positions to Pope Francis. A lot of them come from developing countries, including Mongolia, Laos, and Mali. Raleigh. The Cardinals, one priest said, who have never been heard before, are at the conclave right now, and they are having their voices heard for the first time. That same priest said he isn't worried about how long it takes for a new pope to be elected. It could be beneficial for them to have longer deliberations, and the Cardinals have a chance to get to know one another. Let's take a live look right now. The chimney, we're still about 3.5 hours away before we expect the next round of votes to come out, and we'll have your answer here monitored in the Live Center.
Thank you, Jeff. The work to address cell phone use in schools gets back underway today. The governor's Student Safety Task Force has made this one of their biggest issues. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey joins us live from Dillard Drive Middle School in Raleigh. And Kelsey, the group working together to put together guidance for school districts across the state.
Yes, Michelle, the governor's Student Safety Task Force will talk about cell phone policies that could impact your student's school day. So here at Dillard Drive Elementary, or rather middle school, we know that students are required to keep their phones off and away unless it's during lunch. Conversations are happening in the state legislature about cell phone policies in schools. This morning, the task force is brainstorming about how to put those policies in action. They're asking questions like, when should students be able to access their phones at school? What tools should schools have to enforce cell phone policies? And should these policies vary based on grade level? Data shows students receive 250 to 400 phone notifications a day at school. William Lassiter from the Department of Public Safety says phones are a distraction in the classroom.
What we really want to look at with the policies is there are times when technology is very important in the classroom, and we want to make sure that teachers are able to use technology when they need to use it, but that technology can be put away when it's not needed.
The task force will be meeting again later this month. They're finalizing a best practices guide for local school districts about these cell phone policies. They'll have to submit that to the governor on June 3rd. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live in Wake County.
2 men were airlifted to hospitals after a plane crash at the Raleigh Executive Jetport. The pilot, Terry Gallagher, was airlifted to UNC in critical condition, and the plane's mechanic, Scott Riley, was airlifted to Duke with serious injuries. The Highway Patrol says Gallagher was conducting a touch and go at the time of the crash. A flight instructor was set to land after Gallagher's touch and go and saw the plane crash happen.
On his way in, I think he caught the left wing tip. So we saw the tip, slightly down, and we saw a bunch of dirt fly up, and then we aborted our landing and went around to see what we could see.
We are working to find out what caused that crash. And rescuers were called to this scene in Johnston County. A car submerged off of Cornwallis Road. Sky 5 flew over the scene yesterday afternoon. You can see the staging area on top of the bridge with a raft perched up against the wall there. We are trying to learn more information about what happened and whether anybody was hurt in this. And a warning from law enforcement this morning, scammers impersonating police officers. The Wake County Sheriff's Office says it's investigating 3 reported cases. The scammers manipulate caller ID. That way, it looks like you're getting a call from a legitimate law enforcement officer. WRAL viewers who have received the calls say they were told to pay a fine or that they had a warrant out for their arrest. Sergeant Wallace O'Neill shares the best way to prevent being scammed.
You can always hang up and call the agency directly to see if that person is actually employed by that agency.
That's a good idea. The Wake County Sheriff's Office says they'll never ask for money over the phone. So far, no victims have lost any money from these scam calls. Today is the state legislature's self-imposed crossover deadline. That means any bill that has not been passed in at least one chamber will be considered dead until the next legislative session. While we don't expect much to happen this morning, yesterday the state Senate and House passed a torrent of bills. The House unanimously passed HB 520. That bill would crack down on telemarketers who display a false local phone number to try and trick people into answering their calls. It would ban networks from selling your number to telemarketers and allow you to sue if they do. And another bill, HB 936, also unanimously passed. This bill is working to curb unwanted advertisements delivered by text or robocall. And the state house passed a resolution that would call for a constitutional convention. A constitutional convention is the way changes can be made to the Constitution without Congress. 2/3 of the states must call for the convention and agree on the issue to be addressed. The convention would be held to consider adding or changing term limits for members of Congress and other federal officials. The bill does not say which federal officials. It could include just about any of them, including the president, who has talked about a third term, something the current Constitution does not allow. The U.S. has never had a constitutional convention. In Durham today, you can share your thoughts on how the city spends taxpayer money. The Durham City Council will hear the proposed budget for this year and the capital improvement plan for the next 5 years. Also at today's meeting, the council will consider plans to start construction on North Duke Street near KinderCare. The construction would improve walking areas and create a crosswalk at the intersection with Newsom Street. The meeting gets started at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Time now is 8:10 on your Thursday morning. More protests arrest. Dozens of demonstrators detained at Columbia University. The recent changes at the school as the Trump administration intervenes. And black smoke. No new pope named this morning at the Sistine Chapel. What you need to know about the next round of voting this morning.
And what you need to know about weather is it's not going to look like this all day. The next weather maker coming through will bring us a chance of storms this evening and again tomorrow. I'll walk you through it. And it's a pretty start out here this morning, but this evening we have the chance for some severe storms. A level 1 risk for most of our viewing area doesn't really kick in until around 9 or 10 o'clock tonight. So we don't have to worry about it until then. This is a look at our rain chances, looking at 20% chance during the evening commute. So very few of us. But then by say 9, 10, 11 o'clock, that chance really starts to go up. And that's where we'll have the potential for some isolated severe storms. Right now it's looking beautiful across most of our area. There's some places that are cloudier than others, but this is a live look at Apex, and you can see a nice mix of sun and clouds. Exercise forecast today still feels comfortable in terms of humidity. It's nice and low. Our dew point's still in the 50s. So temperatures in the upper 70s at lunchtime. We'll see highs in the low 80s. And if you're exercising after work, temperatures will be close to 80 degrees. Now, behind tomorrow's front, our temperatures really cool off for the weekend. I'll show you coming up. Ken?
All right, what's been happening now with the WRAL traffic center? Let's take a spin around the Beltline, the southern loop of the Beltline. We're seeing that bumper-to-bumper traffic moving forward. Over on the northern loop of the Beltline, similarly, traffic is slow and steady moving in those westbound lanes. I know many of you use I-540 as an alternate route to the Beltline. Here's what we're looking at. You're looking at a 13-minute delay if you get on Lewisburg Road and you're trying to get all the way to I-40. But once you get past Creedmoor Road, it's clear sailing right now.
All right, thanks, Ken. There are growing fears that a conflict between India and Pakistan could turn into open war. The clash escalating this week as India carried out military strikes against multiple Pakistani territories, targeting what it calls terrorist infrastructure. India says it's in a response to a terrorist attack that killed dozens last month. The Pakistani government denies involvement in that attack and promised corresponding action against India. And 6 months after Election Day, the race for North Carolina Supreme Court has come to an end. A federal judge ruled more than 60,000 ballots being questioned by Republican Jefferson Griffin must count. Griffin has said he will not appeal the court's decision. That means Democratic incumbent Allison Riggs wins re-election to the state Supreme Court. A new person is in charge of elections in North Carolina. The elections director was fired at yesterday's meeting. Karen Brinson Bell served in the role since 2019, appointed by Governor Roy Cooper. The governor's office no longer oversees the board. Republicans in the legislature took control of the elections board away from the governor's office and gave it to the Republican state auditor, Dave Bullock. The move is being challenged in court. And the White House is pulling support for Dr. Jeanette Nesheiwat to become the next U.S. Surgeon General. Her Senate confirmation hearing was set to begin today. In a social media post, President Trump instead supporting Dr. Casey Means, a wellness influencer with close ties to Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Means became a leader in the Make America Healthy Again movement after dropping out of her surgical residency program. And dozens of demonstrators were once again detained at Columbia University. New York police led the pro-Palestinian protesters out of the university's Butler Library yesterday, hands zip-tied behind their backs. Authorities say the people arrested did not comply with orders being taken into custody. It comes as the Trump administration cracks down on what they call harassment of Jewish American students and cuts to federal funding to the school. And the Trump administration released thousands of additional files on the 1968 Kennedy assassination. It's not immediately clear if the documents contain any new information. Last month, new documents on the assassination were released. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard says officials searched the FBI and the CIA warehouses, uncovering these latest documents. And police officers from across the state made a stop in Raleigh as part of a bike tour to Washington, D.C. This group is making the journey to honor law enforcement officers in North Carolina who've died in the line of duty. First responders read aloud the names of fallen officers before hitting the road.
Well, this is about our fallen, so we want to make sure that we honor them, but also we want to remember the survivors, so the family members of fallen officers, just to let them know that they have not been forgotten, and we're always going to remember their loved one and honor them.
The group made a brief stop at Deputy Ned Bird's memorial site before continuing on in their journey. Participants tell WRAL they plan to cycle more than 250 miles from Chesapeake, Virginia to D.C. for Police Week. Parks closed for yet another summer, leaving kids fewer options when they need it the most.
I just hope it can hear our voices, our kids' voices.
Tonight at 6, WRAL investigates why it's taking so long to address the lead in Durham's parks and when we could finally see a solution. And covering Wake County today, Raleigh will have a new urgent care facility. Advanced Community Health will have ribbon cutting for their first same-day urgent care location. The site will provide treatment for minor injuries, illnesses, and dental emergencies. They'll also have an on-site pharmacy for one-stop convenience. The program gets started at 11 a.m. on Capitol Boulevard. And SAS announced several new artificial intelligence tools during an event in Orlando. The Cary-based company showed off its AI agents with customizable human AI interaction. Leaders say this will help organizations create AI agents that can fuel trusted decisions. AI agents are trained on specific data sets. The company says it plans to launch an AI governance solution capable of monitoring AI systems. Interesting. All right, let's get outside to meteorologist Elizabeth Carter out on the WRAL weather patio. It's going to be a nice day until we get to later this evening. That's what we're watching.
By the time we get to, say, 8, 9, 10 o'clock, we're going to have some thunderstorms that roll through. And during the evening commute, I couldn't completely rule out just an isolated shower, but it shouldn't be very impactful. We take a look at Fayetteville. Fayetteville is one of the spots where we're seeing a bit more cloud cover. You can see some clouds trying to push in over Terminal 2 there in Raleigh. Apex and Chapel Hill, a nice mix of clouds and sun for us this morning. Our next weather maker is this system moving across our area. The cold front itself trailing below that low doesn't come in until tomorrow, say mid to late afternoon. Ahead of it, tonight, we have the potential for a few storms to become severe. And then on Friday, it looks like that maybe an even better chance for severe storms. But still, a level 1 risk is typically just isolated wind damage. Here's Futurecast starting things off for today. Getting closer to lunchtime, a little bit cloudier. There's 3, 4 o'clock. At 5 o'clock, you can see a couple of isolated showers to the south. And then by 8 or 9, we begin to see some bigger storms that start to move through. Not that this is going to be widespread severe weather by any means, but it'll just be an increased chance for rain, maybe some heavier embedded thunderstorms in the mix there. And then we start to dry out a little bit for tomorrow morning and lunchtime. And then between, say, 2 and 3, we see our next round of storms that come through. Notice that by 6 or 7, it's pretty much over. And so if you do have evening plans on Friday, tomorrow, it most likely will go ahead and clear out. So to recap our next weather maker, we have that cold front that'll come through tomorrow around the middle of the afternoon, a level 1 risk for tonight and tomorrow. And we're trending a little drier for the weekend. Take a look here. That front moves southward and stays. Now, notice as we get into 5 o'clock Sunday, we start to see a little bit of rain in the southeastern part of the state, not necessarily in our counties, but we're watching that. Yesterday, it looked like a better chance for rain Today we were able to take that rain out of Sunday, but Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday do look pretty wet. Green light for outdoor plans over the weekend. Cooler and less humid on Saturday, definitely trending drier on Sunday. We do have a couple of commencements at UNC at 7 o'clock Saturday evening and then 9:30 in the morning on Sunday for Duke. Both of them will see temperatures in the 60s and it looks nice and dry. Mother's Day's high, 78 degrees. We'll walk through the day hour by hour coming up. Ken?
All right, happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. We want to take you around the Beltline this morning, starting with the southern loop. You can see those westbound lanes of I-40 moving very slow and steady this morning. Similarly, things have actually gotten a little better in the northern loop of the Beltline, those westbound lanes moving toward us this morning. Many of you take I-540 as an alternate route. Right now, you're looking at an 11-minute delay if you get on I-540 at Lewisburg Road, trying to make it over to 540. But once you get past Creedmoor Road, it's clear sailing all the way to I-40. In terms of other major routes coming into the capital city, you're looking at a 7-minute delay if you're coming in from Wake Forest this morning. All other routes are delay-free at this hour.
All right, thank you, Ken. Safety in schools. A new bill would allow some defensive devices in public schools. The security check that would be required to keep the tools secure. And black smoke signals. Black smoke came from the Sistine Chapel earlier this morning. What you need to know about the next steps in the conclave process.
As you get into your car, tune to WRAL News Plus on your radio. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM. In Durham, 96.5 FM. And everywhere on 101.5 HD3.
Good morning and happy Thursday. Time now is 8:26. I'm Michelle McConaughey. A nice start for our Thursday. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner out on the WRAL weather patio. We are tracking a storm system later today, though.
We are. We have a small chance for some showers during the evening commute, mainly south of the triangle. Most of us won't see that. But then this evening, starting around 8 or 9, we begin to get into a chance of some more widespread, stronger storms. And we do have a level 1 risk for tonight. And then Sanford, taking a look now, started to look a little bit cloudier. It's a little cloudier here on the patio, too. We'll see increasing clouds as we get through the day today. It will be a warm one. Temperatures in the low 80s. Later this evening, we drop into the 70s. And then, of course, tomorrow we'll have another chance for rain in the afternoon and evening. Ken?
All right, happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. We're starting the southern loop of the Beltline. You see those, the bumper-to-bumper traffic there on Lake Wheeler, on I-40 and Lake Wheeler Road. Checking all the other major routes coming into the capital city. Real troubled spot is Wake Forest this morning. You're looking at a 7-minute delay if you're coming in on US 1 Capitol Boulevard, if you will. Over in Durham, very little to no delays heading into the Bull City this morning.
All right, thank you, Ken. A man was shot and killed in Durham on South Benjamin Street. Law enforcement were on the scene since 9:30 last night and stayed for about 9 hours. It's not clear what led to that shooting. We are working to learn the name of the man who was killed and whether anybody has been charged. And a federal judge ruled in favor of Democratic incumbent Allison Riggs in the race for North Carolina Supreme Court. Republican Jefferson Griffin says he will not appeal the court's decision. That means Democratic incumbent Riggs wins re-election to the state Supreme Court. Next on Fox 50, black smoke from the Vatican, the new developments this morning in a search for a new pope. And up next on Today, it's National Nurses Week, and today is honoring NICU nurses.
Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
Breaking news right now at 8:30. A man is dead after a shooting in a neighborhood. The scene in Durham where investigators were for 9 hours.
And we do have our next weather maker headed our way. We'll start to feel some impacts tonight and again tomorrow with showers and thunderstorms.
Plus, voting at the Vatican. Another round of black smoke from the Sistine Chapel chimney earlier this morning, which means no pope has been elected yet. The schedule for the rest of the day as we keep an eye out for any final decision. Jeff Hogan has the latest in the WRAL Live Center. We'll get to him coming up in a little bit. Thanks for sticking with us here on Fox 50. I'm Michelle McConaughey. Let's get outside to meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner on the weather patio, watching a system that could be coming into our area later tonight.
So tonight, we do have a level 1 risk for severe storms. That just means that 1 or 2 of the storms that develop tonight could produce some wind damage or some hail. So that could be fairly late. I'd say the earliest in our western counties around 8 o'clock and the latest around maybe 10 or 11. We do have a 20% chance of storms during the evening commute, but that's really going to be a handful of storms in our southern counties, and those look pretty tiny. This is a live look at downtown Raleigh. Nice mix of sun and clouds. It's a comfortable morning out here on the patio, 65 degrees around the triangle, and our dew point feels comfortable at 58. It's probably going to climb on up into the 60s later on today, and that'll feel just a little bit more muggy for everybody. Our highs this afternoon will be in the low 80s, and then, of course, once our front moves through tomorrow, we are cooler for the weekend, but it looks fairly dry. I'll walk you through the forecast coming up.
Elizabeth, happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. Traffic is moving slow and steady on the southern loop of the Beltline as we take a live look at I-40 and Lake Wheeler Road. The northern loop of the Beltline similarly slow and steady this morning as we look live at I-440 and New Bern Avenue. Many of you take I-540 as an alternate route to the Beltline in terms of getting east and west, and you're looking at an 11-minute delay if you get on 540 at Lewisburg Road trying to make it over to I-40. But once you get past Creedmoor Road, it's clear sailing all the way to I-40. Checking some of the other routes into the capital city, the main trouble spot right now is Wake Forest. You're coming in on Capitol Boulevard, US 1, you're looking at a 7-minute delay. Very little to no delay for the major routes heading into Durham. I do want to isolate I-885 as a route. If you're heading north on I-885 heading into Durham this morning, you're looking at a 5-minute delay to get to 85. If you use it on 885 to get to I-40 this morning, you're looking at a 7-minute delay, so keep that in mind. You're getting ready to head into the car. We'll keep you updated on the radio, 101.5 HD3.
Thank you, Ken. In just 4 hours, the third round of votes will be cast to select the next pope. This morning, chimney smoke was black at the Sistine Chapel. That means no pope was decided during the early voting session today. Voting will resume at 11:30 this morning. If a pope is chosen in the next round of votes, we'll see white smoke. We are keeping a close eye on the chimney for any signals of a decision, Jeff.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, black smoke, no new pope. And now the world's 1.4 billion Catholics will wait for their next leader. And probably about 3 hours from now is when we'll get the next indication right there. But, you know, there have been 20 cardinals appointed from countries that had never previously had a cardinal. And Pope Francis did that. There's been a lot of speculation his successor could come from a part of the world that has been underrepresented in the church history. And if you want to go to recent history of Pope Francis and Pope Benedict, the last two, this second round of voting has produced a pontiff in both of those instances. Now, that has been fast, but we're into that reasonable sort of window here of speculation where it will hit a fever pitch. Fever pitch, I should say. This is a live look right there at the chimney. Now, if 3 days pass in the voting, they will stop down for a day of prayer. So a lot of anticipation coming up in the next 3 hours. And the Associated Press is also reporting, just on a side note, as a lot of folks wait for what's happening here. This was a drone used for a television broadcast there. It got attacked by one of those seagulls. We have seen a lot of those seagulls sitting up by that chimney as we watch that chimney for the smoke to come out. But we're not going to take that as a sign of impatience, but everybody waiting with anticipation, so certainly.
Really waiting. All right. Thank you, Jeff. Well, we are following some breaking news locally here. A man is dead after a shooting in a Durham neighborhood. Video from the WRAL breaking news tracker shows the scene on South Benjamin Street. Police responded to the scene just before 9:30 last night. They found a man who was shot and killed. Investigators say this appears to be an isolated incident. No word on any arrests at this time. And today, what to do about cell phones in North Carolina schools will be the topic of a brainstorming session. Governor Josh Stein's Student Safety Task Force is meeting this afternoon at 1 o'clock. And WRAL's Kelsey Coffey joins us live from Dillard Drive Middle School. Kelsey, they want to create a list of guidelines for school districts to follow. What are they talking about here?
Yes, Michelle, they do. And in the next few hours, the governor's Student Safety Task Force will meet about cell phone policies that could impact your students' day in the classroom. So here at Dillard Drive Middle School, we know that students are required to keep their phones away and turned off unless it's during lunch. Conversations are happening in the state legislature about cell phone policies in schools. This morning, the task force is brainstorming about how to put those policies in action. They're asking questions like, when should students be able to access their phones at school? What tools should schools have to enforce cell phone policies? And should these policies vary based on grade level? Data shows students receive 250 to 400 phone notifications a day at school. William Lassiter from the Department of Public Safety says phones are a distraction in the classroom. He says the less students are on their phones, the better.
All the research shows that this helps with social development of our kids. If they're only relying on their cell phones to message their friends and not actually using their words and reaching out to real people, it actually delays some of their social development.
The task force will meet again this month. They are finalizing a best practices guide about cell phones to give to local school districts. So they will have to submit that guide to the governor on June 3rd. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live in Wake County.
Today, a proposal to change the pay structure for school bus drivers in Durham is under review. The Board of Education is holding a work session tonight at 5:30. They'll talk about a plan that would change how certified and classified drivers will get paid. The suggestion is to compensate certified staff at $25 an hour. Classified staff will be compensated time and a half of their hourly rate. And a car was hit by bullets at an apartment complex in Raleigh. Video from the WRAL Breaking News Tracker shows the scene on Walnut View Road around 11 o'clock last night. Investigators say shots were fired during a fight. Nobody was hurt. Police say nobody is in custody. And this morning, President Donald Trump says he will announce a major trade deal with the United Kingdom. Trump says that he'll reveal the details during a news conference in the Oval Office this morning about 10 o'clock. In a post to Truth Social this morning, Trump said, quote, a full and comprehensive one that will cement the relationship between the United States and the United Kingdom for many years to come. No mention was made of a trade deal with China, where new tariffs are anticipated to cause the most economic damage. But Trump does say there will be many other deals to follow. Today is the final day of crossover week. State lawmakers passed a number of bills ahead of today's deadline. They have one more chance today to push bills through chambers, though little action is expected. One of the bills passed by the House is known as the Firearms Liberty Act. The bill would introduce the option for North Carolinians to get a concealed handgun permit that lasts a lifetime. Current laws require people to renew the permit every 5 years. The bill would also allow defensive devices like tasers or pepper spray in public schools if they're secured with biometric locks. Biometric locks use identifiers like facial recognition, fingerprints, or eye scans. And tonight, the Carolina Hurricanes' quest for the Cup marches on. They'll play Game 2 of their series against the Washington Capitals. The Canes are looking to take a 2-0 lead in the series after winning Game 1 in overtime. Puck drop for tonight's game is 7 o'clock. And WRAL is your home for Canes playoff coverage. We are breaking down the game-changing moments with insider analysis former Cane Shane Willis. Catch Canes' exclusive postgame live only on WRAL tonight at 11:25. And we have an update on the Power School data breach back in December. Power School is contracted by the state to manage records of staff and students. And this week, employees received emails containing the same personal information compromised in the December breach. The state's Department of Public Instruction department says threat actors used data from the previous breach to demand Bitcoin. Just last week, Power School told WRAL Investigates the threat was over. They paid hackers a ransom and watched data get deleted, or so they thought. The state says they'll use a new info management system in July that's called Infinite Campus. Time now is 8:40. Sunscreen ratings. As temperatures heat up, you'll need to protect your skin. 5 on your sides, Keely Arthur breaks down which products offer the best protection without breaking the bank. And we'll take you live out to Lewisburg this morning. It's going to be nice most of the day, but we do have a chance for severe storms later tonight. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner will time that out next.
Otherwise a nice morning, but we do have a chance for rain later on this afternoon. It's a very small chance during the evening commute, and then it really ramps up around 8 or 9 o'clock tonight, and we'll have a good chance for storms overnight. And a few of those could be severe. We could see 1 or 2 reports of wind damage. Right now, we're dealing with a really nice morning. You can see partly cloudy skies there in Chapel Hill, courtesy of Top of the Hill Restaurant. Town by town, it's comfortable out here, especially it's starting to feel a little bit of that sunshine. Feels good. 65 in Durham, 67 in Fayetteville, 66 in Cary, and 62 in Garner. If you're out running errands for it today, it'll climb as warm as low 80s, and it'll be just a little more humid than it was yesterday. We're really dry up until tonight, but tonight we have a chance of storms, and I'll go through the timeline for tomorrow's storms for you coming up. Ken?
All right, Elizabeth, we want to keep it outside and give viewers, particularly those getting ready to head out and using the Beltline as part of their morning commute. This is what the southern loop of the Beltline looks like. I-40 and Lake Wheeler Road, slow and steady. Similarly, on the northern loop of the Beltline, this is what you're seeing. Things have actually gotten a lot better on the northern loop of the Beltline. The westbound lanes coming toward us. Things are also improving up on I-540. You're just looking at a 9-minute delay, but of course, once you get past Creedmoor Road, it's clear sailing.
All right, thank you, Ken. A 3-day ceasefire is now in effect in Ukraine. The pause was unilaterally declared by Russian President Vladimir Putin as Russia marks the anniversary of its World War II Victory Day on Friday. The high-profile event is expected to be attended by the leaders of several countries that are friendly with Russia, including China's Xi Jinping. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky called Putin's announcement a theatrical performance and reiterated his country's support for an earlier U.S. proposal for a 30-day ceasefire, which Russia has rejected. Whether you are hitting the beach, mowing the lawn, or tending to your garden, don't forget the sunscreen. Consumer Reports just released its exclusive annual sunscreen ratings, testing more than 100 products. And Keely Arthur breaks down which ones offer the best protection without burning your budget.
Skin cancer is the most common cancer in the U.S., and 1 in 5 Americans will get it in their lifetime. But the simple act of putting on sunscreen, that can make all the difference.
UVB rays primarily cause sunburn. UVA rays contribute to premature skin aging. Both types contribute to the risk of skin cancer, which remains the most common kind of cancer in the United States.
This year, Copper Tone Water Babies Lotion SPF 50 stood out among lotions, earning high marks in both UVA protection and SPF performance. And if you prefer a spray, Eucerin Advanced Hydration Spray SPF 50 came out on top. Make sure you're using something that is at least SPF 30, but it's not just the number that matters. You want to make sure your bottle says broad spectrum. That means you'll be protected by both UVA and UVB rays. Keely Arthur, 5 on your side.
A firefighter is recovering after being hit by a driver who sped right through a crash scene, and it was all caught on camera. We do want to warn you, the video may be jarring for some people. Dashcam video shows a car hitting Cotton Fire Department Lieutenant Wayman Hudson. You saw it right there. Firefighters say the car also hit another vehicle and a fire engine. It happened around 8 a.m. Friday on Highway 301 north near Hope Mills. Hudson says that he was hospitalized after breaking 5 ribs.
Last thing I remember, I looked at the car and I remember actually saying, this is going to hurt. And next thing you know, I seen the sky, the road, and I was laying on the road looking up at everybody looking at me.
Wow. Hudson has a 6 to 8 week recovery ahead of him. And the Highway Patrol says the driver was cited for not having a license and failing to reduce speed. A reminder, North Carolina's move over law requires you to move over a lane if it's safe and slow down when approaching stopped emergency vehicles. Since 2020, 11 houses in North Carolina have collapsed right into the ocean. But now there's a bill that could offer some much needed help for homeowners on threatened oceanfront structures. Will Thomas reports.
It's a shame that they are falling into the ocean.
For 4.5 years, Stephen Culley has owned his home in Rodanthe, which means he's also fully aware of the number of houses that have been taken by the ocean, 7 in 2024.
The beach erosion is going to happen. It's a battle that we've been doing for thousands of years. So, but we could certainly do a better job of controlling before it goes in.
Right now, homeowners using insurance through the National Flood Insurance Program cannot collect on the house until it falls into the ocean.
You can't rent the house, you can't live in the house, you can't use the house, but you can't demolish it. It falls in the ocean and then you're covered.
There may be a new way to handle that soon, as Congressman Greg Murphy has recently introduced legislation to have that changed. Some of it including allowing payouts for condemned houses, advanced payouts for demolition or relocation, and limiting payouts if the homeowner does not act before the house collapses. Murphy in a statement says in part, proactively condemning and demolishing properties will better serve eligible beneficiaries, improve public safety, save taxpayer dollars, and protect the surrounding environment.
It makes a lot more sense to take care of it before all that debris ends up in the ocean.
And without a house collapse in Rodanthe since the fall of 2024, Culley hopes his view of the houses in front of his stay that way.
I'd like it to stay that way forever, yes. They can all stay right in front of me. It's a nice buffer.
Raleigh police are getting new electric bikes to help patrol the greenways. City Council accepted the donation from the Raleigh Police Department Foundation to buy 4 new bikes. This will give the department's Greenway unit a total of 11 bikes. The bikes let officers respond quickly to any accidents that may happen. More North Carolinians are planning to take a trip this summer compared to last year. That's according to a new survey from AAA. 61% of respondents in North Carolina say they plan to travel this summer despite economic uncertainty. Most people plan to take a beach vacation and stay here in the U.S. June and July are shaping up to be peak months for trips. And a new report shows the beer industry here in North Carolina has had a big impact on the state's economy. The industry itself has brought in $13 billion to our state. It's created close to 72,000 jobs, and breweries generate around $1.5 billion in taxes for local communities. The report also found the beer industry has brought in more than $470 billion nationwide. People like their beer. And you might want to take a beer outside today. It's going to be pretty nice out there until this evening. That's what we're watching for. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner has a look at what we can expect today.
This is our next weather maker, and we do have a front that's sort of lifted northward and becoming stationary up to the north. You can see kind of underneath it, there's some showers now around parts of Georgia and South Carolina. Some of that may sneak up into our southern counties right around the evening commute, but then we're going to see a better chance for storms. And then the cold front that's trailing down below the low comes in tomorrow, and that's going to bring us an even better chance for storms. We do have a level 1 risk for severe storms for tonight mainly. 1 or 2 of those cells could produce some wind damage. We take a look at Futurecast. Some sunshine between now and lunchtime, but then we're fairly cloudy. 5 o'clock, an isolated shower down to the south. And then by 8 or 9 o'clock, we begin to see some of those showers and thunderstorms pushing in. And here's where we could end up with a chance of maybe an isolated severe threat. 1 o'clock in the morning, and then early in the morning tomorrow. If you're out early, it may still be pretty wet out there, but that's going to move through pretty quickly. Then we get to round 2 after a break at lunchtime, and you can see around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, that line of thunderstorms moves through. But it's really out of here by maybe 5, 6, 7 o'clock, depending on where you are. And so it does look like your Friday evening and Friday night should be quiet, but not so much tonight. WRAL Gardens behind me looking nice and bright and sunny, 65 degrees right now. Our dew point is at 58. It's a little higher than yesterday, but still pretty comfortable. 83 in Raleigh and Durham, 86 in Fayetteville. So definitely a warm day today. And we'll see some rain overnight tonight and into Friday, of course, especially during the afternoon and evening. Right now, Saturday and Sunday are looking fairly dry. It's good news for Mother's Day. 61 at 9 a.m. if you're headed out to church with mom. Lunchtime for brunch, 71, and dinner time, 76 degrees. So happy to see it looking dry. I'm going to continue to watch a front that'll be just to our south and see if we're going to have to add any more rain back in late Sunday. But definitely Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday look wet.
All right, thanks, Elizabeth. Before we go to break, here's a look at your winning lottery numbers. We'll get another check on weather and traffic next.